All right, welcome to the Nathaneal Podcast. Today we have an incredible guest joining us, Parker Worth, one of my good friends on X, and his journey is quite inspiring, really. From a janitor and electrician to building a six-figure business as a full-time content creator now and email marketer. Parker, welcome to the podcast. I'm honored to have you here, man.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here, Nathaniel. I love seeing you crush it online, and your journey's been inspiring to say the least. So it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, man. Like you were one of the guys that I looked up to in the beginning because you, I mean, I don't know if we're in the same position, but you inspired me during that time where you were talking about. I saw you in a podcast. You were talking about being a janitor, being an electrician. Then you just found your niche here, and it really inspired me to just keep going. But can you tell me a little bit more about that journey, man? Like how did you go from that guy who was doing like minimum wage jobs, I assume, to becoming like a full time entrepreneur?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I started off just as like kind of an asshole kid that just was stupid. I got arrested a few times before I was 18, nothing serious, but kind of landed myself in a situation where I accepted the fact that I'd be in custodial services for the rest of my life. And it was awful. Like, I mean, the job itself, the things you'd have to do, but the thing that drives me nuts is like the idea of maintenance. And it was like maintaining garbage cans, like no matter how hard you worked or whatever you did, or like bathrooms, which are the worst things to freaking maintain on this planet. I just hated that. Like, no matter how hard you worked, you always had to maintain it, right? It wasn't like you got to build something epic and like put blood, sweat, and tears into something. And it's like, like, okay, you can build a building and you can drive by it in 20 years with your kids and be like, I built that. But for like a garbage can or like shopping carts or really like gas station attendant, it's like, I don't know, the idea of just like you're not building anything with your time, you're just maintaining it, right? And that's why those jobs don't pay the best. And so, yeah, I did pretty much a lot of those under the sun. Was working two jobs at one point, doing janitorial services at like a college and a ski resort. And then I just kind of finally like said, I have to learn a skill that's valuable to society. So I went to school. I became an electrician, and it was a great gig. I loved it. I actually got lucky. I got a gig traveling the world working on military bases and embassies, and went to like 40 different countries, but it wasn't location dependent. And so I always wanted to start my own business, and I actually started flipping real estate and investing in tax liens and stuff like that. But none of them really made me location dependent. And so after traveling, I kind of got bit by the travel bug, and I read the 4 Hour Work Week, which I think like every entrepreneur's read. And you get bit by the 4 hour imaginary dream of not working that much and going wherever you want. And so I failed a lot. I had no skills to offer the online world. Like, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, offer someone something of value. And it'd be like, I remember trying to talk to big accounts when I got on Twitter first and be like, yeah, if you need any electrician tips, just let me know. And it's like, all right, people don't need that, right? It's not in demand. And so, yeah, I started a blog for electricians. I took some course. I was like, yeah, blogging, just blog for like whatever you do. Electricians don't read blogs. They don't read. And if they are reading, they're definitely not reading blogs. So I spent almost 2 years doing that, like just creating awfully written content, but not knowing anything about SEO and just like writing and posting it and hoping something would happen. And it really didn't. There was zero traction. And it's like, yeah, I tried podcasting and it was pretty much the same thing. And eventually there's this really cool startup called Intro, and you can talk to anybody that's like famous. It's like the founder of Zillow and stuff. And so I've talked to Sam Parr. He used to be on there for like 15 minutes. And he's like, dude, just go onto Twitter. He's like, it's insane right now. He's like, you can just write 10 ways to do X and you'll get thousands of followers. And he's like, and then just the opportunity will come to you. And so, yeah, I had no idea anything about social media marketing or anything. So I got on there and struggled for 3 months and got to 100 followers. And it was absolutely embarrassing because I saw like little kids going viral and building these huge audiences. But then eventually I figured it out. Like, I posted my personal story and went to sleep and it went viral. And then like everything kind of changed from there. And so I figured out ways to get attention, and then the opportunity started pouring in. So I guess that's kind of, hopefully that answers your question of like how I got into it.
Yeah, man, that's a great story. One thing I wanted to ask you about, because like your in your bio, your company's like Shock Center LLC. Is that like because of the electrician thing, or
Yeah, that was the brand name for the electrician stuff, and I just never changed the business name, which I actually need to now because I've had people like refund course purchases, and they're like, I don't know who this is. And I'm like, oh, it's me. And they're like, oh, whoops. So yeah, it's actually something I'm working on now, and basically starting an S corp. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You hit the nail on the head. That was like the brand name for it.
Right. That's funny, man. But like, if anyone would be starting, would you still think Twitter is still a great place right now? Because that's where you started. Right?
Yeah, no, definitely not. I've actually just kind of pulled away from social media marketing, especially on that platform. I think LinkedIn's really hot. I think LinkedIn's really cool because of the sales navigator. Uh, yeah, Twitter has completely changed. Just pretty much not to blame Elon Musk, but like as far as man, like you can just start a niche business on Twitter. I mean, you could be anybody writing about anything. I know Dickie Bush built an audience of hundreds of thousands, and he just started out writing podcast summaries, right? And so, like, the visibility and the reach was a lot easier. And now it's definitely a lot harder. I think it's still possible, but I don't think it's possible to get like attention first and turn it into a business. I think if you have a business and you're very good at marketing, you can definitely get leads off there and grow. I don't want to say it's impossible. I don't think anything is. There's definitely some hacks to still get millions of views in a day, but it's definitely a lot harder than it used to be. That's for sure.
So now you're leaning more into LinkedIn and email. Is that
Yeah, primarily my business is run off email. It's just kind of what I figured is like, I mean, right now Twitter like has deboosted links. I mean, probably a year and a half ago, I would get 20 to 25 email subscribers a day passively, which was incredible at its peak. And now it's virtually zero from Twitter. And so I use a different strategy. I pretty much just send DMs to everyone that follows me. And it's like, hey, do you want my lead magnet? And it's better that way. But like I said, different strategies. But yeah, now I run Facebook ads to build my list and try to get a more specific audience. Like one of the problems with social media is that you can go viral, but you're going to capture a bad audience onto your list. And like, so you'll see a lot of these creators with huge lists that don't actually make a lot of money from those lists. And it's like not saying anything wrong with that, but I initially surveyed my audience only from Twitter, and about like 75% of them that came from Twitter make less than $20,000 a year, which probably means they're not going to buy my services or my products. Where if you're running ads, you can, instead of like spending time writing content and kind of capturing anybody, you can. It's more specific. Like I'd rather spend $5 to $6 a lead, which is pretty expensive, capturing a business owner, an entrepreneur who I know that I can build trust with and deepen a relationship with, and will become a lifelong customer, instead of like sending 100 comments a day, like trying to game the algorithm and then getting a huge amount of leads that will just never buy anything from me. And I'm not saying like there isn't a strategy for social. Like I'm sure there's someone out there that's just killing it, but for me, that's just kind of how things have evolved, and my strategy's kind of shifted.
Gotcha. So you're leaning more on ads, but I want to backpedal a little bit. You said, you didn't really develop any skill beforehand, but then you started going into online writing. How was that journey for you, man? Like from, doing all these manual work and then doing real estate, and then now writing. Like, how did you improve that journey? How was that?
Yeah. I mean, the writing's fantastic. I mean, it's a great thought exercise, and I've always loved reading. As a kid, I was always a bookworm, so like being able to read and write and think is incredible, and I think that's more important than ever, especially in the age of AI, which I guess that's another topic. But yeah, it's been great. It's been pretty insane, especially like the internet really does reward consistency. Like at first, I didn't know what I was doing, but over time now, like I checked my ConvertKit, and there's 200 other creators in ConvertKit that are recommending my newsletter, which I had no idea. I don't even check my creator profile, and it was like, holy shit, like that's really cool. Been featured in Newsweek, and then yeah, I was featured as like a top email creator on ConvertKit, like next to Ramit Sethi. And like this has all happened in 2 years. This is not like a flex, but like that's just the power of like showing up and writing in public every day for 2 years. It's just because like 95% of the people I started with online, they've all quit, and I'm probably like we talked about before, like the least qualified person to be doing this. Like I had no idea what Notion was when I started. I couldn't put a spreadsheet together. I took a Twitter course, and they're like, start your own swipe file in Notion. I'm like, what the fuck is a swipe file? What is a Notion? And I was like, do you guys have one of these? And they're like, no, you have to build it. I'm like, I don't even understand. And it was like $1,000 Twitter cohort, and I was just more confused and like baffled than when I entered in. I was like, I'm so unqualified for this. I'm screwed. But yeah, just like kind of like being able to see how people react to certain posts and like, a lot of it comes down to the big idea, emotions, poking at pain. And like once you get really good at that writing for attention, then you need to learn how to write for kind of persuasion, to convert people and to get them to click on stuff and eventually pay for things. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's great. And being able to do it at scale is even better.
Gotcha. So consistency, big idea, and then persuasion. It's kind of like the step by step that you did it.
Yeah, I mean, I started with like templates, and then basically you write enough stuff with the templates that you kind of memorize the frameworks. But the problem with that is like I do recommend that step for beginners. There's a lot of people that say don't do it, but that's coming from people who are like professional writers. I'm like, if you're just starting, you want to learn fast. It's like you want to see the formula behind what's working and what's not. And so like, there's the dumb tweets that are like, stop doing this and start doing this instead. Well, there's a psychology there, right? It's like contrasting views that are really close together. It creates a juxtaposition and people react. People love contrast. And so like you start to realize that. And then basically after that is like you kind of evolve. I got a mentorship with Ian Stanley, and even before that, I really got into copywriting for emails, for ads, sales pages, things like that. And it was just like a bunch of hand copying, which I learned from Derek Johansson. He's the man. And then it's pretty crazy. Like once you handwrite stuff in cursive, like if you find writing that you like, I mean, I love humor writing. I've hand copied Mark Manson's Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck book. It was
Really,
brutal.
like the whole book.
The whole thing, yeah. I just loved his writing. Yeah. I loved his writing so much, and like just his jokes and the way, like it's if you have to write it in cursive and go slow, and it's pretty remarkable. Like after a chapter, you can just put it to work and write like him, and then seeing like things that's like I forget what he said. He said something. He's like that's a lot like flossing your cat, and like he's like whatever the hell that means, and it's like just a really abstract thought, and just like just saying something crazy and brushing it aside. And I think like, I don't know, as you get more advanced and you're writing emails, like obviously I'm competing against hundreds, if not thousands of other copywriters and content creators for the inbox. And it's like, what steps can I do to provide extra value? And then just kind of provide a little source of entertainment where there's like other people that are just like teaching and it's dull and boring, or like, yeah, I just made this much money. Here's how I did it. Where it's like, if I can just say something wacky and kind of give you like a laugh or like make you shed a tear here and there, I think it's going to be a lot better and people are going to look forward to the emails more.
Oh yeah, 100%. You talk about the templates. Dude, the first time I met you actually was I bought your 10 templates. I forgot what it's called, but basically the 10 email templates. And you're actually the guy who basically inspired me to write emails. I bought that, but someone told me to write emails, and then I saw your course. I bought that. And then ever since, I just followed your templates, and then I eventually created my own. But yeah, man, like the templates, it's such a good way to start. And then, because when you start writing that way, as you said, you kind of enter the mind of the author that you're copying somewhat.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like what is it, like go-karts with like the bumpers. It's like it teaches you how to drive, and if you like you keep yourself within the lines, or it's like bumpers like in bowling, right? It's like you can't go out of bounds because you got the bumpers up, and then it's like, okay, now I know what I'm doing, I can take them off. I think it's a really great way to fast track. Yeah, and like I said, I always see like people that have been writing for 10 years online, like don't use templates.
Yeah,
but they help me super fast, and like I don't use them anymore. Because like now after you use them, you can kind of spot everyone using them. But I think if you're like starting off and just want more bang for your buck and not just smash your head against the wall and wonder why you've posted 1,000 things and like you've gotten 5 likes, then that's probably the best way to go.
100%, 100%. So how did you figure out like your big idea? I think your big idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, is more of like storytelling, right? Your story. Yeah. How did you figure out that big idea?
Yeah. So I'd say that's more like a niche topic. Now, I'm actually kind of trying to work myself out of that niche at the moment. But basically, like big ideas or like big marketing ideas is something that's like, I mean, man, if you get one idea that's proven to work, you can build a whole book or $1 million empire off it. Like if you look at Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, he wrote a post on Facebook about it, and it was a contrarian idea. And so it's like, what's the status quo? The self-help industry, right? And it's like everyone's like, oh, just tell yourself positive things. And he's like, well, what if just telling yourself positive things actually sucks? And so he just did a counterintuitive approach to what everyone was saying, and it went super viral. And that blog post became a book that sold like 20 million copies, and he's built this huge, massive business off of that one big idea. And the same thing with the 4-hour work week, Atomic Habits. Like it's like that big contrasting idea, and like what's the unique mechanism behind it, and like kind of the catchy hook. And so the cool thing about Twitter and like the internet is like you can just come up with these big ideas and send them in the world, and they fail. Like you don't have to build it, and it's like eventually one's going to pop off if you can write well enough. And you're like, okay, there's something here now.
Yeah. So you just kind of like experimented, and then you saw. Oh, right. You mentioned the story you grew because of your story, right?
Yeah, essentially it was just like I didn't know what I was good at. Like I wrote my personal story, and it was the first thing that went viral. And I read Robert Greene's book, what is it, Mastering? It's like go back to what you used to get lost in as a child. And I used to just sit there and write like fiction stories all the time, and like for hours and hours. And I was like, all right, well, I really like storytelling. And then I did all these crazy jobs all over the world. And all my friends, like when I started a podcast about electricity, they're like, yeah, I don't care about electricity. I just want to hear your crazy stories. And so, and then I did a remeet SETI exercise where you text like 5 to 10 friends and family members, and it's like, hey, I want to start a business. What are 5 to 10, or what are 3 things you think I'm good at? And like almost everyone said telling stories. And so it was just
Right.
like, all right, I didn't consider myself I'm not an author, like I'm not a screenwriter, but that's just what people said. So like I just talked about personal stories every day, and then I would just write tips and actionable advice on it, and it just took off.
Gotcha. And why do you think that is, based on like what the feedback?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's demand. Like people are just in demand for storytelling content. Like if you look up storytelling, the demand is at an all-time high on YouTube. Like people are just craving it. Where on Twitter, it's really been throttled down, and it's just demand. Like people are on a certain platform for certain things. I think deep down, everyone wants to be a good storyteller because it just pours off into every aspect of life, whether it's dating, conversating, deal making, writing, copywriting, marketing. There was a study that came out, and it was like the number one indicator of a company's stocks is the quality of a CEO speech, and the best speeches are stories, right? And so like I think it comes down to everything, and like there's always somebody that's like, I would like it. I think it's like a secondary desire. It's not like a burning hot crisis. Like you're not laying awake at night like I need to be a better storyteller. Like you'll be lying awake at night like I need to become a copywriter so that like I can work wherever I want. But you're not. I don't think there's anyone that's like lying there freaking out about becoming a storyteller. But basically, that's how I got into it. And it's a fascinating skill. And if you can write well enough and speak well enough, you can put pictures in people's heads. Like you watch a Netflix series and you wake up thinking about it. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and like just watching them win the Super Bowl the whole time, like the story of them losing in the Super Bowl and now they won. It's like I still think about it when I wake up. It's crazy what it does to people's brains.
Gotcha. But you mentioned that you were kind of like getting out of that niche now. So where are you heading?
Yeah, I think everybody at a certain point kind of outgrows their niche or their topic. It's just like kind of a part of growth. I think like you can only write so much about storytelling, but made a great business off it, and like we'll still continue to like educate on it and use it for marketing. But basically just getting to digital marketing essentially and funnels. I love advertising, email marketing, and funnels, and putting it all together and being able to generate passive income. And I've been doing it for myself, and recently just started a new startup with a business partner, where we're doing it for like large entrepreneurs, large influencers, and pretty much big social media accounts that generate a lot of traffic. It's definitely storytelling has a huge aspect of it, but yeah, that's definitely where my focus is now.
Right. So you're kind of more a bigger route now.
Yeah, pretty much like, just solving a more urgent problem. Just, you can create a multiple six-figure business with storytelling, education, and stuff like that, which is great. And it's still there. But to basically get to the next step of 7 figures, it just needs to be something more of an urgent crisis that provides more value. Not that that's valuable, but people will pay a lot more money for multiple revenue streams as opposed to like a storytelling course, right?
100%.
And especially for like bigger businesses. So that's pretty much the gist of it right now.
Gotcha. And here's another course that I bought from you is the, speaking of digital marketing, like the market research, man, that was, dude, I consumed that course in one sitting and I just implemented everything from it. And dude, I think after a week of that, I closed 9 clients or something because it totally changed my positioning. Like it changed the way I approach people, the way I approach content. So yeah, man, like that course is really good. How'd you come up with that course?
Yeah, thanks, man. I love hearing that. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Basically, because I sucked at research and I built something nobody wanted for 3 or 4 years, right? And it's like, I love the concept of pushing a rock downhill as opposed to pushing a rock uphill, which I've done for my entire online business career, whether it was blogging or even starting like a storytelling business. There's so many people that told me I couldn't do it. And it's not like, well, I did it. Like they were right. Like there's definitely ways. My buddy Ole, he started the AI solopreneur, made like 700 grand in a year, built 120,000 follower audience. And that's because he could spot demand and push a rock downhill. And so I learned that the hard way, and would really obsess over how can I create something that will just instantly have momentum and meet demand instead of trying to create demand, which any decent marketer or someone with common sense knows that. I didn't know that. And so it really came from the struggle of that. And like, it would come down to like pieces of content where like it started with content and I could see what angles and like big ideas were working and then kind of putting my unique spin on it. Right. But then it was like, what are people saying right now? What are they searching? What's going on in the world? And man, with like AI and everything, yeah, and I'm glad you said it. I've updated the course. We just wrapped it up today. And you'll be getting the update since you're a customer. But basically, to get real time data on what people are saying and complaining about, it's just absolutely insane. And so, like, whether you're writing for clients, like, man, like back in the day, it was so hard to like. I'm sure you know you were ghostwriting. Like I would write for fitness people, finance people. I'm not a CFO. I'm not a health coach for 25 years, right? And they're only going to give you so much time and information. And so it was like, how can I know the demand in this market, the problems that are like happening that people like, you know, like fitness coach logs onto Instagram and TikTok every day. He knows what the industry is saying, what they don't like, who's the winners and losers and what's trending. I don't. I need to find that out as fast as possible. And so that's where the course came from, was like going through Facebook groups and your client stuff. And then basically I would go through and I'd find these really interesting like business ideas. Like one thing I just worked through for the course was like going through the fitness niche and finding out that there's a huge demand for done for you at home gym services, building gyms. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And there's like some services that charge 100 grand for super wealthy people, but they only service certain areas, right? And this was just from poking around. And I was like, wow, I could really just, you know, go to this really wealthy city that doesn't have this service and just build gyms for people at their house, right? And so it's really interesting. And I think some people should do that, like in their market, go to the subreddits.
Yeah.
I love Gummy Search. It's a great tool, but using Perplexity and going to the communities, Reddit's great because everyone's anonymous there, and just like listening to the rants. And there's just so many ways to take people's language and use it in your marketing to the point where they're like my goal is to write, you know, emails when I launch stuff that people open it and they're like, holy shit, like I have that exact problem. Like I would say that. And there's just something way more powerful, and it just takes a few more steps. And so it's basically about 2 years of doing like client work and trying to like figure out industries as fast as possible. I learned these like scrappy tactics that work really well.
Yeah, man. That like those hacks, even the most recent one that you mentioned, like I forgot what it's called, but basically the Google Trends on steroids. Like that one, I've been using it recently. It's like, dude, it's such a great tool, man. Like you post a thread about a topic way before it becomes viral, and you're just ahead of the curve.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see what, like people are searching for. It's really interesting, like especially with fitness. My new startup, it's called Syndicate 11, where I told you we build funnels, but we signed a client who's formerly Mr. USA, trying to build a fitness business around that. And like everyone's looking for, like, I found that everyone's searching for 7-day fat loss challenges. So it's actually apparently not very hard to lose. Like if you're overweight, 5 to 7 pounds in a week, because it's primarily like water weight. So you can have like a visible difference if you just work out, have a decent diet and walk. And so like everyone was searching for that. And I was like, yeah, we should just set up like a $7 tripwire. Like people sign up for your newsletter and then they get this fitness challenge, and it just crushed it because everyone was like, wow, I was just looking for something like this. Like they just want to go in their email and it's like, here's your workout, eat this. do this and take pictures. So like, it was really interesting. Like you just see what people are searching, what they're looking for and what they're saying. Like, dude, if you look at like Reddit fitness threads, it's like everyone just hates exercise. And so like a great hook, like you think of big ideas, it's like the lazy man's way to lose weight. And then I found like an article and this guy lost weight with thermodynamics, right? He's like, I'm the laziest person in the world. And so it was like, oh, okay. So if you had like a thermodynamic weight loss program where you get really hot and really cold, it's like, I don't know, dude. It's just really interesting because there's like a demand for it and someone did it. And it's like, wow, okay. Yeah, there's all kinds of endless like rabbit holes you can go through on that.
Dude, that's funny. That's funny. One thing that I noticed about you is that you're kind of like playing around with a lot of niche. You also have a lot of stories. I'm curious, like, have you seen any effect in your character development, somewhat of the whole digital marketing thing as well? Like, maybe you apply the thermodynamic weight loss program on yourself as well, and you don't need to work out anymore, something like that.
Yeah, as far as character, so I won a mentorship with this guy Ian Stanley, who's like a very famous internet marketer. For like he's been around for like 12 years, and he's very smart. And my problem is I'll work really hard and think that's enough, and I'll work hard on the wrong things. And really, as an entrepreneur, that's a recipe for disaster. It's still something I suffer from. It's just like I just chasing things and thinking effort will equal outcome. Where Ian is like he makes millions of dollars a year. He's also a stand-up comedian and he just does like dumb YouTube videos just for the hell of it. And like he really does whatever he wants in his lifestyle. And I was just talking to him and like he would just like I'd have these ideas and he's like, that's dumb. He's like, that's gonna take so much work. And so that's kind of like where the concept for my character is like a lot more thinking and like the amount of effort that's involved in the reward and like building leverage, like where everyone's going out and chasing clients, he's like, he's like, I built an agency. It sucks. You have to manage a sales team, and it's like being a therapist for a bunch of salespeople. Everyone's miserable there. And he's like, you can do it, but it's going to take 5 to 10 years, and like it just sucks. He's like, or you could just build something like a course that people love, and just run paid ads to it, and let your money like work for you. And so I'm always thinking about that because I'm sure like just as the game goes on, there's a lot of opportunities, and it's like, okay, is this a hell yes or a hell no? And yeah, making better decisions
Right.
has definitely been a big one that I don't burn gas on the wrong things. So just being a lot more diligent with decisions and where you put your energy
Right.
and like how to get a maximum leverage out of whatever you're working on. It's been a real, like, I learned everything the hard way, dude. I'm like, I'm just stupid with stuff. I learned the hard way, but that's probably been the biggest takeaway from last year and this year. And I mean, I think everyone's heard it. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I like literally have to do that every day. Cause I'll just get pitches from people like, hey, we'll give you a part of the company if you do this. And it's like, have you made any money yet? And it's like, no, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's a good idea, but like, no, I don't want to do it. Right. Where before I'd be like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll see how it goes. And then it's just
Right.
a waste of time. Right. So
Spreading yourself too thin, something like that. And do you have any stories on that, on like moments where you kind of spread yourself too thin and you realize, oh shit, I did something wrong?
yeah, all the time, man, especially when you develop skills. It's so weird. I'll get these surges of like people reaching out to me for like I don't know. Last month I had people ask me for ghostwriting. I had people ask me for email marketing, for a sales page to join like a different startup. Meanwhile, I was like doing affiliates, and then I had an agency ask me to do freelance writing for them. And like I said yes to a lot of stuff that was just not a no, and like ended up having to like cut loose on everything. Like I'll see a lot of, it's so weird. Like every few months you'll just get these surges of weird opportunities that you'd have killed for, and now it's like I just have to say no to them. But yeah, like I have a very big habit of spreading myself too thin and thinking that more work equals more income, but that's not necessarily the truth. It's very easy in this world for like, dude, even if you have like, I mean, I've written for clients when I used to ghostwrite and gotten them millions of like not followers, but like impressions and like huge results and built 6-figure followings. And like I'll have people that they refer. For example, I had somebody whose account I grew to like 6 figures, and he referred somebody else to me with money. And I was like, yeah, this is the price, which is expensive because I know what I can do. And he's like, yeah, I want a deal. And it's like, before I would have bent over backwards for it, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like this is what it is. And just playing games. I didn't work with them, but stuff like that where, I think desperation has a scent, and like a lot of people will try to take advantage of you for your time and your services if you're desperate for money. And so like just making sure you're never in that situation where you're spread so thin on bad deals where you don't have time and you're not making as much as you could.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, just being a lot more slow and strategic about your
Right.
decisions and your commitments is a big one.
Yeah, yeah. I also struggle with that a lot, where it's like, when you're trying to make a move, like when you're in a position where you have to make money, and then suddenly all these opportunities come to you, and then now you say yes to everything, and you can't say yes to the big things somewhat. But I'm curious, like, how did you handle before that, where it's like there's no deals? Well, like, how did you handle it?
Yeah, that's tough. And that's part of entrepreneurship, man. Like, I mean, always after my record months is one of my worst months. And it's never like an upward trend. I mean, if you look at like every year, it's a drastic upward trend, but it's like up, down to month, right? It's just being able to like spot opportunities and work on the right things. Like just building the egg, I guess the basket that's going to be your made bread and butter after a year. I mean, I've got an email list, which is just extremely versatile. Like if I ever need something like, hey, I've got this new service I want to do. Hey, I'm offering coaching calls or whatever. But because if I didn't invest like 2 years, in my downtime writing an email every day and building that list, I wouldn't have that option. So when those times are there, it's like I always have that backup and kind of like that anti-fragility of like a network that I know half the people are going to open the message that I'm going to tell them.
Right.
And then it's just like really sharpening your skills. Like when I saw I mean, I feel like reach is down almost on every social media platform. Things have changed a lot, and I saw that happening. So like I took time to refine my skills and learn more direct response writing, advertising, and copywriting. And now like I've got a diverse set of skills that I can just apply to my own business. So when they are like that, I mean, the biggest thing is if you're desperate, there's like the rule of seven. So like if you ask seven people like, hey, do you need a plumber? One of those seven people, like I forget what the math is, but it's insane. Like one of those seven people will know someone that needs a plumber. And so like that's what I usually do if I was ever stuck in a situation like that. But yeah, at this point now I've built enough of like a nest egg of savings and then basically have my email list and the skill set. So it's like invest in yourself enough to have the skill set that you can pretty much go out there and do anything, especially for your business, right? So hopefully that answers your
Gotcha.
question. I know it's kind of a tricky one. Yeah.
No, yeah, 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 definitely. But so right now, because you talk, since you've been in the online game longer than me, it seems like you did. Like right now, I think socials is still good, but it seems that you're saying it's no longer as good as before. So I'm like, holy shit, I may be missing out on some things. So I'm curious, like, if you were to, like, let's say, erase everything, like start from scratch, what would you be? And but you still have the knowledge that you have right now. How would you like go from zero to where you are?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not saying social media is like dead or anything. The game's changed. Like outreach is, I think, a lot better than it used to be, especially if you're like not spamming like a bot or just sending things. But if you're like very clever and strategic and can send quality ones, especially with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, I think that's insane. So like, I'm not saying like just disclude or anything. I think like if you do it right and you work hard enough, you can definitely pull the right levers. It's just not something that's like piqued my interest and given me enough ROI. But basically, to start off, the simplest way would just be, dude, I would just get an affiliate link for something, like anything like diabetes socks or something, right? Someone that's selling diabetes socks. And I would just like, I would find demand for something where someone is buying a lot of something, some kind of product that's just absolutely kicking butt. I would get an affiliate link and then I would basically find ads that have worked for a similar product. So I would look at like ads for socks. I would run an ad to an opt-in page and basically give them like a free PDF guide on like diabetes on your feet and how whatever you can do for it. With the biggest pain point, let's just say the diabetes niche, right? Like it's in demand. More and more people are getting diabetes every day. I know it's growing. I've done my research. I can see there's a huge trend upward. It's a growing market. Okay, who's selling the best socks? Who's making the most money on the socks? And do they offer an affiliate link? So I would basically be like, hey, what are your commissions? And usually it's like 50-50. And so there's a way to set up, I forget what the app is, but basically having like a shop. So it's like, I don't have to do anything and I can have this like affiliate link at the shop. So if someone buys it, it's automatically sent to them. I just have to market the sock sale. And so I would pretty much just run an ad, mirror an ad that works on other socks, get people to sign up to my email list and have like just whatever affiliates I can have for diabetes products, but just like have a humorous twist and personality in my email. So it's like I have a brand, like, be funny or whatever. Yeah. And yeah, I would pretty much have like they opt in, they go to a tripwire and get offered a deal on socks. And then they get a deal on like diabetic shoes and then like upsell them to something more like for, I don't know, like a wheelchair. I don't know the market well enough, like just a funnel where it gets more and more expensive for diabetes products and like get a commission on it. And then have a welcome sequence where I'm just selling more things. Right. And then basically run that and just tweak it until it's profitable, or at least break even on the front end. And then on the back end, I would just have more expensive items. And then just try to scale that. And then you can just have a diabetes newsletter that's primed with buyers and then sell it to somebody else or just keep it growing. Like not a niche I'd want to write about for 5 years. But I'm sure there's a diabetes company that would love that asset.
Gotcha. So how do you manage though when you, for example, you do that and then you decide suddenly you said, oh, it's been 5 years. I don't want to write this thing anymore. How do you pivot in niches?
Yeah, so a lot of people do it differently. I don't think there's a right answer. Like I talked to a couple people, a couple mentors of mine who have been in the game for a long time, and they're like, don't even say anything, just start changing. So like in my emails, I haven't talked about just changing, like, hey, I'm not writing about this, and I'm not serving these people anymore, because people follow and love people, and like I think like yeah, they love the content and everything, but like at the end of the day, they just like getting, I don't think people like. I think people don't really give a shit. Like they just like the person and like what they're getting and feel connected to them in some way. So I don't think you'd have to like publicly pivot. Just kind of like do it and go and see what the flow is and just build it from there. That's what I'm doing. I know some people publicly say it and they make this big deal like, yeah, unsubscribe, unfollow me. And it's like, if they're not interested in what I'm putting out now, then it's like they can just leave, or else they are interested. I think there's a lot more power in what's left unsaid than what is said. So like I think it's easier to ask for forgiveness and permission, right? So like I just kind of do stuff, and like if I get in trouble, then I apologize. And so that's kind of like something I operate by. Like I just do it, and then whatever the consequences are, I can just sorry.
That's funny. Well, now because I've always had that fear where it's like, how I'm afraid to write about certain things because I'm like, dude, this is not my audience. Like I'm thinking, how would they care? But then I don't know if you have this, but I have an itch to write about it, but I can't really write about it because of my ICP. But now that you're mentioning this, maybe I should just write about it.
Yeah, and I mean, in this day and age, I mean, honestly, what you fear most is what you need most in life, right? And I think everything kind of needs a shtick. Like, I don't know, like sometimes I write about fart jokes, and like I'm trying to target business owners, and it's probably not the best thing, but like I don't really care. I mean, I just like I don't know, it's the same thing. Like I do think like, okay, that's not necessary, but then I get a bunch of replies like, dude, that's so funny. Oh my gosh, I'm glad you said it. And I think that's like, especially in the age of AI where like anyone can say anything instantly, it's like just the more you can just be yourself and like say the things you kind of fear and feel edgy, like the more vulnerable you are, the better it is. So that would be my recommendation. Like usually if I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should say it, I should probably say it. So
have you ever had those moments where you said something and you got like a ton of, so you said something that you didn't expect would get a lot of leads, you even doubted yourself, but then like got a surge of leads and sales?
Yeah, it's always the things I expect the least.
Really?
It's never like there have been a couple moments where I'm like, I know like if I just put, man, it's weird. It's like if you put the work into it and just like, it's so cliche, but like I found like the things I half-ass don't do well. But if I just like especially like emotions, like if you feel something while you're writing, like people will feel it too. And like, yeah, I remember I shut down my community to make my course, the Digital Storytelling Masterclass, and like I just said, like, I was like, yeah, I just pretty much gave up on everything to launch this. I put everything in there. I wanted to build a course that I could sell forever and not just for a year. And like, yeah, I remember that, like, that opening email did like really, really well. Like the click rate was like insane. It was like 3%. And I got 0 unsubscribes, which never happens. It was like my most insane, like, click to unsubscribe ratio.
So what was it? What did you put again? What was the email about?
The subject was like, it was just the launch email, and it was like, thanks for your patience, and like, hey, I've been talking about this for a long time, and I just want to explain why I built this and what went into it. And I was like, when I was an electrician, I used to work on like hydro dams that were hundreds of years old and or like over 100 years old. And, you know, I would think about how the people that built this thing died, but they built something so well, it lives longer than they do. And I was like, and that was kind of my inspiration for building this. Like, it took me forever. And even my mentor said, okay, hurry up, finish this thing. And I was just like, I just want you to know, like, that's how this was built. I mean, it was written a lot better, but like packaging up that emotion and just being like, I'm sending this into the world, and like the reaction was really good. It's like that one, I knew it just because I felt something, and I feel like people can feel it too in the writing. Like, I don't know, you write a lot. Like, I can spot, like, there's nothing wrong with AI writing. It's a powerful tool, but you can tell when people just use it. There's nothing behind the words. Like, even like, I stopped buying new Kindle ebooks because a lot of them are written like that, and there's just not something behind the characters. I mean, Neil Patel did a study, and they A/B tested human written blogs versus AI written blogs, and the human written blogs like 7x the results. So like, there's just something psychologically there. I think if you're like really feeling something and write it, and of course you can enhance it with AI or like do whatever. But I think like the more that you can just hit on emotional chords, whether it is a laugh or something or a tear or just like an awe, yeah, there's something really powerful behind that. So like anytime I packaged it up like that and just kind of wrote it more for me than anybody else, it's performed better.
Wow. Okay, that's really inspiring. The way you even said it right now, like you explained the dams, dude. That I felt it right now. So that's really cool. And it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, where all you wanted was to build, like you were talking about when you're maintaining things, you were not really building, but now you actually build something real. So yeah, that's really touching, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, so you're gonna do like ads. How do you incorporate those feelings right now with the ads? Because like with email it's kind of more storytelling. You connect with the audience, but with ads, how do you make that same feeling, packaging the feeling thing in ads?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not necessarily like you've got. So the problem is like there's tons of ads everywhere, and you've got to make someone feel something as fast as possible. So sometimes it's having two things at once. Like I did one with like the hook was my girlfriend, and she's Brazilian and tan. She was in her bathing suit, and then I like flipped the camera, and it's me in a banana suit. And I didn't explain why I was in a banana suit. I was just like, hey, problem agitates solution. You need to learn how to tell better stories online. Click the link. And like I didn't even answer why I was in a banana costume or like what was happening. So like that opens a loop, right? Because people like sign up because then they're like, wait, why is he in a banana? What is going on here? So it's like creating intrigue, poking at a problem, like anything with like if you do images, they're working well again, and it's like anything that kind of works well with the YouTube thumbnail. Like if you have kittens or dogs or like baby faces, emotionally people react really well to those. Or like Alex Becker, he's sick at ads, and he says like having a punchable face. And so like if you look at his, he's got like a YouTube channel with 1.5 million subscribers, and he's got this like every freaking picture is him like this with like shiny eyes, and it works. It works really well. So it's like something that like you got to like be the person that's scrolling, and they see an ad, and everyone's like on a microphone in an office like, hey, if you want $1 million more, then listen to this. Like that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But if it's something completely like wacky and like two things are happening at once, like if you're riding on a scooter and you're doing a pitch, like my mentor Ian, dude, he did a crazy ad. He drank toilet water. Like there's proof. So like having proof. Yeah. Yeah. He had a water filter company, and this one went super viral, and he made like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But basically like he had a water filter company, and it starts off, he's like, I'm in the dirtiest place in America. It's like, I'm in the LAX bathroom. And you're like, okay, but why are you in the bathroom in LAX airport? And he's like, I'm going to test this water filter. And then it's just like, you just expect what's going to happen. You're like, what? No. And like, it's so funny because like he's waiting for somebody to get out of the bathroom. And you're just like, no, like just the emotions of it. But then there's the proof factor of like, it couldn't get any more crazier of a demonstration of like a water filter. So,
Yeah.
but he's also done ones well, like he's on a hoverboard and he's like pitching, subscribe to my email list, and he's holding a gallon of milk, but he never explains why he has a gallon of milk because it like opens this loop, and people are like, what's going on here, right? And it's getting them to stop and like opens the loop in their head, and then they have to subscribe to find more.
That this conversation is making me kind of like, because I'm a naturally creative person. The way you describe these things, like, dude, I kind of want to do that, because it's like you just have to find an angle where it's like not a lot of people expect it, but it makes sense somewhat, right?
Yeah. I think just humanity always has rewarded creativity and something different that's a breath of fresh air. So like, as long as there's like an emotion and a payoff behind it, I mean, it's easier said than done. And then it's a lot of testing, and you got to kind of burn some money to get it started up. But that's kind of like the gist of it.
Gotcha. So you talked about that. I wanted to get your perspective a little bit on AI because we talk about like creative. Do you use AI, or like what's your opinions on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I use it a lot for like in this new course that's getting revamped. I use it for research a lot, like Perplexity, and now deep research can basically just scrape the internet and kind of give you what you need. But I don't think it. So I think like if you use it to replace yourself, you're taking the human element out of it. Obviously, like I'm not some kind of like scientific guy that knows everything about coding and language, but I definitely am like impressed at what its capabilities are, and it makes things faster. But dude, even with it, like I still have a huge workflow process. Like if I'm building a funnel for somebody, writing a sales page, email campaign that like actually converts and does well in the research for it, still takes me 2 weeks. Like even with it, like, but I don't think it's great for getting your own experiences, getting what's on your mind on paper. And I think replacing that, like, right, that's what writing is. It's just like communicating on paper, right? And I think if you replace your brain with like an AI, what are you good for? And so I think it's great for taking your writing from like 1 to 10. Like I have all my swipe
Right.
files turned into AI prompts, and like after I write a rough draft, I'll like run it through these prompts and see where there could be a hook or something. But then I've actually like backed off of doing that and just kind of like the raw process of it for like formulating and planning and being strategic. It's next level, right? Like, okay, here's all these pain points. Which pain point's the most important? But I think it's great for research and like formulating concepts. And I'm really bad at being organized, so I'm like, I can put all my thoughts and everything together and kind of have it
Right.
like recommend and advise me. But yeah, I use it every day. I don't think you should use it to like completely replace yourself. And I can see a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
And I see like the internet and social media are just flooded with AI content. Like LinkedIn's absolutely terrible. They've always had terrible content, but now it's like really bad. If it's got emojis or it says, here's the kicker or discover
Yeah.
or
Dude.
skyrocket. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you kind of know it, right?
yeah, you kind of just see the words and you can kind of poke through it now. And
Yeah.
like people are smart; they pick up on it. Like it uses a lot of hyphens
Yeah.
and like yeah, it's really weird. So like I really try to minimally use it for writing now, and like I still hand copy. And I've just kind of found out that like putting every sentence and making it persuasive or like having as many like crazy copy hooks as possible kind of takes away from the general reading of it. Like a lot of people just don't like salesy writing, even though I think it's cool and kind of fun, but I think it interrupts the flow a lot.
So you still hand copy until now?
Yeah, I still hand copy stuff. Like I've just got this huge, massive swipe file of stuff that I love, and I like to infuse it into my like brain and writing. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like my mentor Ian, he can just speak a whole sales page. Like he just closes his eyes. Like the first sales page I ever wrote, he's like, "Yeah, I just write this," and he spoke for like 5 or 7 minutes, and I wrote
Yeah.
it, and it still performed super well. And I was like, "Wow, that's
Right.
fucking crazy."
You
But that's
didn't
like
even edit it anymore.
yeah, it's like the formulaic sales thinking though. And like if you look at Alex Becker, all of his stuff is it follows this formulaic sales formula, like a sales page, and there's all this. And like I think you really need to understand that framework and then understand where the person is when they're reading it and what they might be
Mm.
thinking. Like, whoa, why would they object to this statement, right? Why would they object my claim that this research course will help you validate your business idea in less than an hour? And then it's like, oh, okay, they're going to see that objection at this part when I make this claim, so I should objectify it here, right? And so like I think you just need to have that in your brain, and kind of like be like empathetic and relatable enough to know where the people are in their journey.
Gotcha, gotcha. I used to hand copy a lot. Now that you're saying you're still hand copying, like maybe that's one thing that I should do as well. Because like, there are times when I kind of feel rusty. I feel like if I start hand copying again, I can get back to the group.
Yeah, it's more for me now like thinking,
Mm,
like how you think and the flow and the pattern of what you're saying and what you'll say next.
right.
That's very helpful.
Do you have any like recommended reads that people could hand copy to get better at persuasion, sales, all that?
Yeah, there's a good one. Like it's old ads. It's like swipe.co is a really good one. But you can just hop. Like I did emails for a while. Like if you really want to just start getting basic at copywriting, use Justin Goff. He writes like a first grader, but he made like tens of millions of dollars writing like a first grader. It's really simple. It's like being entertaining and funny. I really like Ian Stanley. He's probably the funniest guy. And then I like if you want to get good at marketing and like separating the pack and being polarizing, Ben Settle's great. And then Derek Johansson, like as far as like value and giving someone as much as you can, Derek Johansson's really good. Any of their sales pages, like just screenshot them and swipe them. They're like works of art. These guys have been doing it for like 10 to 20 years. My personal favorite guy is John Carlton. He's just really good at copy. So I love his stuff.
Gotcha, gotcha. Thanks, man. All right. So with that, is there anything that you'd be launching? I know you said you have a new offer. Anything else you'd like to announce?
Yeah, no, the same course you said that you took, and it helped you get 9 clients. Congrats, dude! I love to hear that. It's been upgraded, new videos, new modules, new bonuses, and there's basically a separate pack. You can basically use prompts with every lesson in Perplexity or OpenAI Deep Research. And basically, you learn the lessons and you do all the work, and you can basically scrape and market and validate offers and business ideas and find demand hyper fast. And so, like, that'll be launching on Monday, on the 16th, if anyone wants to check it out. It's awesome. I've gotten great reviews. It was a lot of fun to build. And even my girlfriend, she's Brazilian. She's like, holy crap, this is the coolest thing you've ever built. So, like, that's always like, she edits my videos. And I was like, what'd you think? She's like, this is so cool. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you're gonna have skills like whether you want to start an online business, you have an existing one, or have clients. It's gonna be helpful for everything like that.
Yeah, 100%. It helped me a lot. So where can people find this course, man? Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can just follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn. It's at Worth_Parker, or you can just go to my website, parkerworth.com, sign up for my email, and you'll get updates there.
Yeah, we'll link those down below as well. But yeah, thanks, man, for hopping in. It was a great conversation. We really had a lot of fun, learned a lot as well. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah, man. Cheers.
Cheers.